Welcome to the second part of the Leading Self module. And this week is all about daily habits and routine. So last week we covered mindset and perspectives. And I think before you're able to move on and do anything, really understanding where your mindset is at and how that impacts how you show up in life is really important. So this is sort of the next step. So once you've kind of looked at, and I appreciate that with the mindsets and perspectives, that it isn't just a case of we're done, that's it. It will actually flow through the following subjects that we cover. Especially today, we will be looking at some more sort of fixed mindset statements that you perhaps believe. So it all does come together. So today it's all about habits and routines and the importance of having a good habits, having good routine to help set you up for the day, to help keep you on track. And I think also there's an element of rediscovering, in finding habits and keeping promises to yourself and doing kind of those small steps and seeing progress, actually the confidence that can come from that. So habits, I don't know if you've heard, a lot of people will say that it takes 21 days to start. So to get a habit embedded, and a habit could be something that serves us and doesn't serve us. It's basically anything that we repeatedly do. So you could say smoking. Actually, smoking is a habit. Granted, it's not good for us, but it's still a habit. Drinking water is a habit. So it's I say drinking plenty of water is a habit. So it's anything. Having that cup of tea in the morning is a habit. It's anything that we repeatedly do is a habit. And I think it's sometimes taking a moment and going, okay, well, what serves me and what doesn't serve me when it comes to habits? And if you ever want to change a habit, it can take 21 days to just get started, but up to 63. So there's a lot of disagreement, sort of, some people aren't sure if it's 21 days, if it's 63, but it can take anywhere from like 21 to 63 days to embed a habit. And that's what we want to do. We want to embed habits. And the reason why it's important to embed habits is that when there are times when you're exhausted, where there's a lot of stress, where there's a lot of chaos and uncertainty, actually having an embedded habit and a structure can serve you better, because it's like you do it without thinking. People say it's a mindless habit, isn't it? So it's something I do without thinking about. So if you can create good things that help you to meet your goals, that help you feel better, that help you feel your best, then that means that even when the days are like you wake up, it's like, oh, I just don't know if I can be bothered. Actually, you've got those good habits in place that mean you can get up, face the day, and achieve what you'd like to achieve. And I always say with forming habits, start small. Like, it's not a case of that I expect you to write. So you've got your accompanying worksheet, and on there it'll say, okay, what habit would you like to change? And it's not a case of that I expect you to overnight be like, yeah, getting up tomorrow and I'm going to completely change it. Sometimes having something so big can feel really overwhelming. So it is about breaking it down into the smallest possible thing that it could be. So for example, I will take the habit of getting up in the mornings. So for some people, and this used to be me, it would be a case of snooze, 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 snooze. But now I actually have moved my alarm clock to the other side of the room. And it's actually, I'm not very good at being shocked out of sleep. I find if I'm shocked out of sleep, I'm like a zombie for the rest of the day. So I actually have a sunrise clock. So there's kind of two things in that. In order to help my habit of getting out of bed when I want to get out of bed, there's two things in that. There's that I could recognize I don't like being shocked out of sleep and the impact that has. Okay, so how can I help that? What can I put in place? Well, I can get a sunrise lamp. So I've got one of those. Okay, if that was by my bed, all I do is press the snooze button. What way can I make sure that that doesn't happen? Okay, if I put it over the other side of the room, I have to physically get out of bed to turn it off. Once I'm out of bed, the comfiness, the snuggling, it's warm, I don't want to get up, is kind of disrupted because I'm up. And that means I can switch it off and go, okay, I'm up. I've done it. I've kept that promise to myself. Let's keep going. Go to the bath, then it's like, actually, I'm up. Let's just keep that momentum going. Let's go to the bathroom, etc., etc. So it's thinking about, where can I start small? It could be, actually, I want to make my bed in the mornings. you know, I want to keep the bedroom tidy. So could it be, okay, well, identify, and it's always about identifying that reflection. That's a really good place to start. So if you want to keep your bedroom tidy, what is it that's stopping you from keeping your bedroom tidy? And then picking, so it's often unpicking that, okay, well, what's stopping me? Once I recognize what's stopping me, what can I put in place that means that I can do that? So it could be, actually, I'm going to make my bed. As soon as I get up every morning, I will make my bed. Then that's great because I've made my bed. And once you stay, you know, you start small and you keep being consistent, I think there's something really powerful in being consistent and keeping promises to yourself. If you can say, right, I'm getting up and I'm making my bed, great, I kept that promise to myself. What can I do next? So something that I ended up doing, the dentist has been at me for years to floss. And this year, actually, I finally was like, do you know what? This is a habit I want to embed. So now every night I floss, and I know there's that, you know, each time I'm doing it, I'm like, yes. So that means when I go back to the dentist, they will see that, yes, you've been doing that. Great. Obviously, there's a bigger why to it as well, but it is that little bit. Okay, so twice a day doesn't work for me. So if I do it once a day, that's really manageable. I will feel that I've achieved it. So you've kind of, with the whole starting small, it's what is achievable for you right now. And it's like, I call it building blocks. Everything is like, it's building upon. So, you know, you've made your bed, I've flossed my teeth once a day. Okay, so now I'm in that habit of flossing it once a day. Could I consider moving it to twice a day? And if I move it to twice a day, could it be, okay, well, I'll do it twice a day, twice a week to start with? Because if you can keep to what you've promised, then you feel like you're able to do the next thing. It's like, okay, I've achieved that. Fantastic. I feel really proud that I've achieved that. What can I do next? Instead of, if you make something really big, if you make something really like massive, I mean, some people can, you know, like if I take stop smoking, for example, some people can just quit overnight, but some people need to be able to go, okay, I smoked 20 today, tomorrow I'm going to do 19. Next week, I'm going to do 18. And it's sometimes it's those small steps. It's that, okay, I've achieved that. I've kept that promise to myself. What's the next step? So it's finding how it works for you. If for you, small steps where you build is more, I know for me, that building block, that yes, I've done that bit, I know I've done that, so I can achieve the next thing, works, then do that. Find what works for you. And that's really vital with any of this. It's find what works for you. So I will give you the tools and I will say, look, this has worked for me, or this works for people. And it's about you taking what you need in this moment to go, okay, actually, that really resonates with me. I think that will be useful in order to bring this habit into my routine, for example. And it's just those keeping promises and having those manageable, achievable goals just helps you keep moving forward. And we will talk more about goal setting next week, but just know those small steps are really important. So limiting beliefs, last week we talked a lot about the fixed mindset. So fixed mindset, limiting beliefs are very similar. It's anything that keeps you stuck in that moment, stuck from moving forward. So on the example on the worksheet, I talk about getting out of bed again. So as soon as you find yourself saying, I can't, I won't, I'm not capable, you are instantly limiting yourself from what you can or can't achieve. You know, it's that whatever you think you can or you can't, you're right. So it's how do I, if I've got a habit that I want to break, or if I want to, so I guess that's a point to consider as well. Again, what habit do you want to break? What's stopping you? And what is going to be more useful? So it's always that statement of what will it get me? What is more useful for me to do instead? And it's trying not to think of it as a loss, but thinking of it as a gain. So instead of I'm losing that ability to stay in my bed and be warm and cozy, I'm gaining the fact that I get up. I feel that I'm able to tackle the day because I've had that bit of extra time where I would be in bed, where I'm up, and I've got that time to be able to do what I need to do before I start work, for example. So it's looking at what will I gain? And that's what I really want to encourage you in all of this. What will I gain as I change something? What will I gain as I do this? So going back to the limiting beliefs, if we, you know, so on the paper, I talk about getting out of bed. And, you know, it's like, I'm not capable. Well, as soon as you say that to yourself, that's it. You're not going to achieve it. And I think when it comes to changing you know, I've got this belief, I want to change it. We do have to look at, okay, what is going to be more achievable for you? And for some people to say, I can get out of bed on time might feel a bit too much. So it's learning that I am capable. I can get out of bed. So it's like, I can get out of bed if I put these processes in place. So I think it's really important to say I can, because that gives you, it's empowering you. It's saying you are capable. And yes, sometimes you might not fully believe it, but it's creating a statement that means that you can believe it. So I can get out of bed on time might feel a bit uncomfortable, but I can get out of bed by putting processes in place feels more comfortable to you, because it's saying, actually, by taking steps like putting my alarm clock on the other side of the room, like not making sure my phone is by my bed, so that I can just, when I get up, I'm not instantly on my phone. Like having my clothes set out by my bed, because then I know as soon as I get up, I can get dressed. It's finding, again, what works for you and is achievable and is manageable, but actually still helps you step into the right direction. Because it's all about, how do you pick yourself up when things are really tough, and how do you move forward? And by embedding habits and taking those small steps, it's when you get to those, you know, when you're really struggling and you've got a good habit there. So now, even on the days that I'm absolutely exhausted and I could do with staying in bed, but I know if I stay in bed, then I lose time. And then that just means the whole day's out. And for me, that's more stressful. So it's that, actually, I could stay in bed, but it's going to be more stressful. I'd be better if I get up. And actually this afternoon, I'll put into my diary that, because I'm really tired today, I'm going to look at my diary, look at how I can take some time, an extra long lunch break where I can relax and have a cup of tea and rest. But actually right now, it's more beneficial if I get up. So now, because that habit's embedded, that the alarm clock's on the other side of the room and I get up and I keep going, that means that even when I'm really tired, I can still do it. So routine, and routines are an interesting one. I have a morning routine and an evening routine as well. And for me, a routine, and a lot of people find this, you know, when you read up about the importance of routines, a lot of people find that structure really helpful. And for me, that it's having that structure that is really helpful, so that when, again, there's those days where you don't feel like it, where you're tired, actually, I know this is what I'm going to do. And that means that gets me into a headspace, because often, especially in the mornings, there's an element of, you know, getting yourself in the right headspace for the rest of the day. And by having a good morning routine, for example, and even an evening routine. So an evening routine would be getting to bed. So say for me, I know that a good 8 hours means that I'm at my best. So I need to be kind of in bed, asleep by 10:30, because I get up at 6:30. So I know that my evening routine, I need to be intentional about switching the telly off at 9:30 at night, stop looking at my phone, because that will mean that I get a decent night's sleep, because I like to read before I go to sleep. I like to do my gratitude before I go to sleep. So before I go to sleep, I write my 5 things of the day that I'm thankful for. I like to do some personal development, because I just like to have that switch off time where it's not screen time, because I spend a lot of time on screens at the moment. So that's just like my book time. And then that means in the mornings, I've got my morning routine where I know I've got my structure of what I'm going to do. So that means I can be at my best for the day. And it's fine. Again, it finds what works for you. You might not find a morning routine that helps you at all. And it's finding, well, okay, how do I put all these elements into my day that serves me best, that means I can achieve things that I want to achieve. And even when I'm really struggling, it means I'll still do it, because that's the point. A lot of the time when we're struggling, when we're tired, when there's a lot of stress on, these are the sorts of first things to go. And actually having a routine and having good habits means that you will be in a better headspace to deal with everything that you've got going on. And there's a question that, again, it goes back to what is stopping you. Sometimes it's like, what stops you doing that? And it's like, what is the gain? So it's not losing something, it's what will it gain me to have a better morning routine? Will it enable me to have a better headspace? Will it enable me to be more productive because I've had that time in the morning? And I hear what you're saying. Some of you might have got children, so it's really difficult to get up and have that time in the morning. So I want to encourage you, where possible, if you can, even get up half an hour before. If your children get up at the same time every day, if you've got really little children, then I'm definitely not saying this to you. But if you know your child gets up at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 6 every day, could you get up just that half an hour, that 15 minutes before, to allow yourself that time to gather yourself together so that you're ready to face the day? I find myself, if I'm shocked, like I've said, if I'm shocked out of sleep, I am definitely not as productive as I could be. So if your kids are shocking you out of sleep, you're already on a back foot. You're already in a place of, and I find that if my alarm shocks me out of sleep, I'm already on a back foot. I'm already like, I'm not here. I don't know what's going on. And actually having that, getting up that 15 minutes before, for example, your children, I actually get up about 2 hours before my husband, because we work very differently. I need that time in the mornings to be able to ground myself, to be able to gather my thoughts, to be able to think on the day ahead and be like, this is what I want to do today. And having that silence. And I find when he's like up early for whatever reason, and I mean, I say the 2 hours, it's mostly been that since COVID. But if he gets up earlier, I feel a little bit like, oh, hang on a second. No, this is my quiet time. I need this time to be able to get everything I need to do in my head for the day ahead. And I think having that quiet time for yourself, having that silence and that ability to reflect is really vital. So, for example, yesterday I had a challenging situation. And then today I took the time, so I had a bit of a longer routine this morning and I journaled. And in that journaling and writing things down, so there's something really valuable in actually putting pen to paper and writing your thoughts down. It helps you to process. Research has shown that it actually helps you to process your thoughts better. So I was able to write these thoughts down and go, okay, what was it about this situation that I struggled with? Okay, so what can I do better? So if you've ever done any form of reflection, it's pretty much a basis of what happened. What could I do better next time? What have I learned from this? So I was able to write everything down and go, okay, well, that happened. Okay, so is there something that I need to learn that will help me be better next time? So reflection is really important, but also we need to have action. In order for change to happen, there needs to be action. So whilst I've reflected that and I've looked at, okay, this is what's happened, this is what I need to learn. So I now need to go away and do the learning so that when that situation occurs again, I will be in a better place to deal with it in a more appropriate manner. And that's where reflection is really important, especially if you find yourself being triggered by things. So say, I know myself that if I'm really tired, supermarkets are the worst place in the world for me because it puts me on edge. I get really anxious because I'm just too tired and there's too much information going on around me and it's just too much to deal with. So I know, let's not go to the supermarket when I'm really tired. And if I'm really tired, could my husband do it? It's figuring out triggers and actually how are you going to deal with them, so that if you ever find yourself in a situation where, so I know now if I'm really tired and I need to go to the supermarket and there is no other option, I know that I need to take deep breaths. I need to take time before I respond. I need to just take everything as slowly as I need, because then I know I can manage it. So it's figuring, if you can figure those things out and go, okay, that's caused me a trigger. What can I do that will help you the next time it happens? It's really vital to do that because it will help you in times of struggle, in times of challenges, to go, it's okay, I've been here before and I know what I'm going to do. So let's put this into action. So my morning routine follows the Savers by Hal Elrod, which is the miracle morning. And I'm just sharing what I get up to, but obviously you need to find something that works best for you. But for me, this structure, I like a structure. If I've got structure, it's really important for me to have structure. And actually this structure might well help you. So the silence, so we start with S, silence. Take time to quiet the mind. I have a faith, so for me this involves praying. And that's a really important time to just sit and be quiet and pray, because it really helps me organize my thoughts. It really helps me to figure out what is going on before I have to tackle the world. So I should say silence also, I don't put, my phone is kept downstairs, so I don't have it in my bedroom. and I don't look at my phone until I've gone through my morning routine, because that means my morning routine is about me, getting into the right headspace for the day. That means that if any challenges come ahead, it's okay, because I have got myself into the best place that I can be. I've grounded myself. I've done everything I need to do, so that when I pick up my phone and I see what the world's going on in the world, what needs to be dealt with in the world, I'm in a much better position to go, it's okay. I'm in a best place I can be. Let's deal with this. So I say I pray. And then affirmations. So this comes back to, you could use some of those beliefs. So in the workbook, I've encouraged you to write some new beliefs that would be useful for you. And you could use this as an affirmation. So affirmation are basically encouraging words to tell yourself. And you've got to be careful with affirmations. And it kind of goes on what I said earlier about the beliefs. You've got to write it in a way that you believe is achievable. So there is an element of, you do need to step into, I can, it is that ability to say, I can, I will, but it's not, so saying right now, I am a successful nutritional therapist. I'm like, well, that's not true, because I'm still learning. But I could say, I am becoming, or I can be a successful nutritional therapist through doing the work I need to do for university, through learning all I need to learn, through being, having clients and being supervised and taking that feedback so I can learn all I need to learn. So sometimes you've got to find that halfway house of, how can I empower myself that I can move forward, but actually believe it too? Because if you don't believe it, all you're doing is creating an inner conflict, and that actually is worse. So it is about, how can I push myself forward? So it's moving from that I can't to I can, but what can I do to make sure that I can believe that? Now, visualization is a really interesting one. I don't know if you know this, but sometimes our brains can't decide between what's happened and what's been visualized. So it's that whole, what we focus on grows. So if we focus on what we can't do, then that will grow. And so if there's a particular situation, for example, that you're going to be facing in that day, perhaps it's athletes. So if I go to athletes do this, they know they've got a race up ahead. They'll visualize themselves in that race, starting, running, getting to the finish line. They haven't done it, but in their minds they have. So is there a situation that you're facing today that you need to just visualize and see yourself succeeding at it? Going, okay, I've got to write a CV, I've got to write a job application. So I'm going to visualize myself writing it. I'm going to visualize myself doing everything I need to do. I can visualize myself sending it in, and that sort of helps motivate you. And you're like, yes, I've succeeded. I've done that job application. I've put it in. So that can be a really powerful tool to just visualize yourself succeeding, doing something. And if you struggle with visualization, sometimes it's get a sense of. So it's it's what sense do I have? If I need to do this thing step by step, how will it feel to do it? How will it feel to succeed? Sometimes it's just, changing it around. What will it feel like to know that I've written that CV and I've sent that to that job that I've been looking, wanting to do? What will that feel like? So it's just, if you can get into that space, it's a really helpful one to go, yeah, this is what it's going to feel like. So, right, I can put those actions in place. I can put those steps in place to do it. So exercise, there's something about moving our bodies. We spend a lot of time sat down nowadays. So actually moving your bodies, and that could be as little as 5 minutes. And that, could just be having a dance to a song. It's just enough to get that blood flowing, because obviously oxygen, we carry oxygen in our blood. We get that pumping around the body. Oxygen is used for energy. And that can just get us, because as we move our bodies, we breathe that bit faster, get a bit more oxygen here, go around. And that can just be really useful. But it doesn't have to be anything major. Like sometimes I do go out for a run, or I do a HIIT class on YouTube at the moment. Or it could just be I walk to the chickens. I say hello to my chickens and I walk back. I say that it's a bit of a walk to the chickens. Sometimes that can be enough. It's finding what works for you. Then reading. So once we've got our blood flowing, the oxygen to our brains kind of woken up, we can then read. For me, in the mornings, I like to read my Bible, because that for me is a really good place to ground myself, to get positive words, to help me with my day. But it's whatever works for you. It could be actually you want to learn to talk to people better, or you want to learn to give presentations better. It's okay. Is there a book that will help with that? Find that book. You know, there's libraries, or, you know, are you able to buy a book and then read that book and say, okay, I'm going to do 10 pages a day, or I'm going to do 5 minutes. It's whatever works for you. And whatever this route, you know, this routine can take you as short or as little as you want. If you say, actually, I've only got 20 minutes in the morning, could you do 4 minutes for each? Set an alarm and go. So even though I said 5 minutes for exercise, we'll do 4 minutes. Could I set an alarm and go 4 minutes silence, 4 minutes affirmations, 4 minutes visualization, etc., etc. It's finding what works for you, and then scribing, and that goes back to the journaling. That ability to reflect, take those reflections and put them into action is really important to do. So I encourage you in that. And then underpinning all of this, underpinning the why do we change habits? Why do we get better routines? It comes down to knowing our why. And a lot of what I talk about relates to knowing our why, because we need something to motivate us. It needs to be bigger than our fear. It needs to be bigger than our I can'ts, because if it's bigger, it keeps us moving forward. And sometimes we might not know what our why is. So on your workbook, you will see that there's an exercise, and I've repeated why is it important to you twice. And it might be you actually need to repeat that more. And the reason why I've done that, so if I take the example of drinking water, I want to drink more water. Well, why is it important to you? Because it helps me be hydrated. But why is it important to be hydrated? Because actually being more hydrated gives me more energy. So actually my greater why is I want to have more energy. So drinking water will help me get that goal. And if we can get our why really clear in our minds, it helps us show up even when it's difficult. So if I look at my business, I've really worked on my why, because there have been times during COVID that I'm like, actually, is this what I want? Can I give up and go back to nursing? But then I remember my why, that my why is to help people who've been in places that I have, where through illness, through restructuring, through unexpected circumstances, you find your dreams have just collapsed. And you need to find a way to dream again. And I want to encourage and inspire and motivate people through education to dream again, to know that no matter what life stage or what life throws at you, you can pick yourself up and you can dream and you can have hope and you can move forward. So that why keeps me grounded. That why keeps me showing up in business every day, because I'm like, yes, it might take a long time, but I will get there because this is what I want to do. So if you have a greater why, so it's like, I want to get fit. Well, why is it important to get fit? Because I want to have more, energy. Well, why is it important to you to have more energy? Well, if I have more energy, I feel like I'm more productive. I show up better in the day. Okay, great. Well, then that's the why. So it's, if you can find something that's bigger than the fear, than the doubt, than the I can't, then that will keep you going. So it gives us hope. It gives us a focus. And when we're not sure what our why is, that's where that exercise is really useful, because it can help us dig down. And again, you know, I've talked about my business, but it can just be a small thing, you know, like drinking water, for example. You know, it doesn't always have to be a why for a big thing. But if we can have this is where I'm headed, this is where I want to get there, it can help us stay grounded and focused and motivated. And it gives us an ability to set goals against something. So obviously I've got this vision for my future with the business. And so now I'm like, well, that's my why. That's what I want to do. So now I can set the goals to get there. And it's just, again, that building blocks, that one step, one more step. And before you know it, you'll reflect back. So I look back now at last year and I go, oh, wow, look how far I've come. You know, look, those building blocks, I've come so much further than I thought I could. So, and that's where the reflection is also good. Reflection to find out where your why is and what your why is, and then reflection to see, okay, this is how far I've come. Great, I've managed to do this, and I might not have reached it yet. I've not reached the goal, but I can keep putting those steps in place and I keep moving forward. So that's our habits and routines for this week. You've got your worksheet. So have a go at that. And if you've got any questions, then do get in touch. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch up with you all soon.